Following its hugely successful premiere with the National Symphony Orchestra at Washington's Kennedy Center, conductor and game music legend Andy Brick is set to make his Canadian debut with the Philharmonic Orchestra with Game On. He is joining us now. Welcome, Mr. Brick.
Good morning. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Very excited to have you on the show. But before we talk about Game On, I heard that a survey by UK's Royal Philharmonic revealed that Gen Y and Z are actually more likely to attend an orchestra concert than their parents. I was really surprised to hear that.
It's a crazy shift, isn't it? I think what's happening, what we're seeing is a logical evolution of something that's been taking place over the past 30 years. If you think about Gen Y and Gen Z, well, Gen Y, that was sort of born in the 1980s through the 1990s, and then Gen Z, which sort of brought us to 2010. They were born at the time that things like MTV were first starting out. So they have this natural connection between visual media and audio and music. And their music consumption was incredibly diverse. So they were into rock and roll, they were into pop, they were the first generation of video gamers, so they were hearing orchestral music. Films like Star Wars that had amazing orchestral soundtracks were now in the mainstream of media. So it sort of became this natural connection that they had this very deep sense of orchestral music.
You actually arranged music for Sesame Street in the 90s, and you scored films, and you composed or orchestrated music for games. But in 2023, you conducted the first symphonic game music concert. What is it about game music that you think captivates audience so much?
Yeah, it's a funny story about that very first symphonic game music concert in 2003. When I walked into the orchestra for the first rehearsal, all of the musicians were sort of looking at me like, what are we doing here? What is video game music? Why is it in front of an orchestra? It was just this, everybody was sort of scratching their head. And then we walked into the concert hall. This was in Leipzig, Germany. We walked into the concert hall and it was sold out. And people were screaming and cheering for their favorite soundtracks of their favorite games. And the orchestra just started looking at each other like, what is going on? You know, this is amazing to have this kind of a reaction. We feel like rock stars and all of this other thing. And I think what happens is gamers have a visceral attachment to the music. So if you think about playing a game, you know, you've got like a controller of some sort, and you've got this physical reaction. And then in certain games, you get very involved and your body starts moving. And so there's this connection, this physical connection. You're an active participant in the game, which also makes you an active participant in the music. Other media, like films, you're passive. So I think games resonate with their soundtracks, with the audience, because of that visceral connection.
Well, I know that Philharmonic has had sold out film concerts every year at Place des Arts. It will be your first time conducting them. Tell us what we can expect from that connection with them and from Game On.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be great. This is a new orchestra for me, although it certainly isn't the first orchestra for me. I've been conducting game music concerts since that first concert in 2003, and I've conducted orchestras all over the world, in Asia and Europe, the United States, now Canada. I think what the audience can expect, there's two things. For gamers, you're going to hear all of your favorite game titles. So we're going to do World of Warcraft, we're going to do Elder Scrolls, we're going to do The Witcher 3, which is super cool, Assassin's Creed, Ori, which is really, really beautiful. We're going to do BioShock, including this amazing piano solo from BioShock. League of Legends, we're going to do a whole bunch of others. For non-gamers, it's also a really great opportunity for them to come in and hear the power and emotions of a symphony orchestra. And what I like to do is tell non-gamers that when they come to the concert, that they can think about being at the concert as if they were in a museum. And that instead of having a curator at an art museum tell them about the paintings that are on the wall, we're going to let the orchestra, the Philharmonic, tell them about the images, because we have screens with high definition videos playing behind the orchestra. So let the musicians tell them that story. And we sort of structured the music so that it could tell that story, specifically so that if there was someone in the audience that didn't know World of Warcraft, that they would then get a better sense of what that was.
I love the analogy of going to the museum because it's true. You'll have that big screen, very local, over 100 artists, musicians, as well as chorus will be there. It's happening on the 23rd at Place des Arts, Salle Wilfred Pelletier, and the 29th at the Quebec City's Grand Théâtre. There we go. Tickets on sale at the Place des Arts website. Thank you so much for stopping in, and you've sold me. It looks great.
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to the concert, and I just can't wait to see Canada.